Yay. Sorry, the button just wasn't there on my computer, so I thought let me just try the phone. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Clearly that works better. I actually had
Yes.
to move to a restaurant so we could, because of load shedding. I hope it's not going to be a
Oh
problem
dear.
with sound. Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you perfectly, yes.
Amazing, amazing. All right, so this is not our test run anymore. In How are you today, Odile?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am great, thank you. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
Yay, me too. Looking forward to the chat.
Yes, no, definitely. I actually wanted to know, were you aware of Suicide Prevention Month before our conversation?
No, I was not. Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't know it was September, so now I know, yeah.
now you know. Okay, but stuff that has to do with mental health,
Mm,
because literally the first thing that drew me towards you the day that we met, because you were speaking around stuff that has to do with mental health. But
mm.
that's something that's really proactive in your world, in your space.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's weird that because when I do that, it's not really from a perspective of, I know we talk about mental health now a lot, but it's more from just like, I think about it as sort of like managing yourself. But
Okay.
of course, now we talk about mental health, which I suppose is a different word, right? Because if you don't manage
Yes.
yourself, you can get sick.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, like from that perspective, yes. But like, do I think of myself like as a mental health advocate? No, I don't think so. But yeah, I think, just the thought processes, what goes on in your head, those things are like really important for me.
Okay. I'm really happy that you explained it that way, because that means that it makes it so much more relatable. Someone
Mm,
just understanding that, okay, even mental health goes hand in hand with basically managing yourself. And that's going to help me to maintain my health mentally as well, right? Just so that we're
yeah,
more relatable, because I think the more we put really big words around things, the more people feel like, this is a bit difficult for me to like
yeah.
reach or to understand, or is this something that's going to benefit me as well, um but I'm happy you said that. I actually want to know, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm a lecturer at WITS. So my main duties relate to teaching. Like
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen, if you go to class, there's a lecturer.
Yes.
That's what I do. And then
Okay.
we also do research, and then we do what we call academic citizenship. So that's, where you see people making media appearances or writing op-eds or what have you. The nice thing about academia is you can actually choose which one you want to be good at. And that's maybe also why you find so many lecturers who can't teach well, because
Oh
maybe
yes,
they're then good at research, or they're good at the academic citizenship part. But that doesn't mean that, people aren't working at sort of constantly improving. But yes, the job
okay.
is not just teaching, which I think a lot of people perceive it to be. Yeah.
Yeah, well, wow, you just opened my my brain to something else, because that's all I was thinking, that would be okay, that's very interesting. All right, and going back to the mental health space,
Mm,
what do you think? Okay, what works for you? I would like to know, like, a routine that maybe you have on a monthly basis or a weekly
mm,
basis, or that works for you to help maintain it. Because I think more than anything, it's so nice for us to be chatting about it now, and then to
yeah.
go and sit and be like, okay, here's my plan. Every day I'm gonna get up and go and work out, and
Yeah.
and then it's time to execute it, and there's a totally different space. So
Yeah.
what works for you? What's your basic routine?
My thing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, there are so many answers to this, but I think like I've sort of tried different things over the years. And I sort of call it, so when I talk about my work in relation to this, I talk about productivity, but I think what it really is managing anxiety, right? So because
Mm-hmm.
anxiety is worrying about the future or worrying about the past. And
Yes.
if you've got too much stuff on your plate, that causes anxiety. So for me, I think about how do I manage everything that's on my plate so that nothing falls behind, or so I don't disappoint people, right? So what I do have is I have a very elaborate productivity system, which I've sort of developed over the years. I've tried different tools. So like one year, I actually bullet journaled for the entire year. So you buy a bullet journal, and you do well, I did a 6-month plan. Then you break it down to a monthly plan. You break it down to a weekly plan. And then you sit at the end of every week and you say, okay, what am I going to do this week? And the nice thing about that is that you sort of learn through trial and error, right? So you say you sit down and things don't work out. So what you do is, this week you sit down, you say, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes.
And then you get to the end of the week, and this is what the bullet journal allows you to do. It says, oh, okay, I did 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5 is still here. So then it allows you to carry over 4 and 5, but you can then also reflect on why did I not get to 4 and 5? Did I maybe have too much on my plate? Did I not leave time for something else that maybe came up? Maybe someone got sick, you had to go to the doctor, it took half a day away from you. So as you go, you then learn, what works for you, what is too much, and what is not enough.
Right.
And then, over time, you sort of get a sense of how you're going to plan your week or your month going forward. But recently, I actually did a course on Domestica. This lady basically spoke about how she manages energy. So she doesn't just think about managing time, so where you slot, your time block in your Google Calendar, but
Yeah.
also what are the things that give me energy and what are the things that take away energy from me, right? Because there's a lot of stuff I have to do during the day, but not everything
I need
gives
to take
energy.
notes of that. That is so cool.
Not everything gives energy, and some things drain even if you have to do them. So maybe you don't like emails, it drains you. So when is the best time of the day to do it for you so that it's not in a space where you need to be doing something positive rather than something draining. So, I mean, she has this whole system. I'm sure I'll make a YouTube video on it sometime.
Jeez.
But yeah, I've basically been trying that for the last 2 weeks. So what I did was I literally Google, because usually I do 9 to 5, which is my working hours. I'll
Yes.
time block it. But what I did was I calendar blocked from the time when I wake up to the time when I go to sleep, and then you use different colors. So if it's something that drains, maybe you use red. If it's something that gives you energy, maybe, or it's something that's good for your well-being, maybe you use green. And then you do your plan for the week. And once it's color coded, it actually allows you to see, it gives you a bird's eye view of which colors are predominant. So if you've got too much red, then you know, okay, I can't do this much red, otherwise I'm going to be flat by the end of the week, right? So so there's time management, there's energy management, but you need systems. Basically the point is to get stuff out of your head, because that's when it causes anxiety, right? If I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to forget about it. The point is get it out of your head and either put it in a notebook on your computer. I use Notion now. Use your Google Calendar. There's all sorts of systems that people use, that can also speak to each other. So, like I said, I've used different tools over time. Yeah.
I'm learning so much. This is so cool. Okay, Notion. What is Notion?
So Notion is basically, people use it for different things, but it's basically a system that allows you to, it just gives you a blank page and you can create what you want. But then they also have tools on there. So you can use a calendar tool. You can just use a database tool where it's a table and you have different properties in your table. So basically, after I bullet journaled for a year, I just started using Notion. So I designed my Notion page in the same way that my bullet journal looked. The nice thing about Notion is it's very flexible, so you can make the page the way you want it to look. And then that sort of, you can make tick lists and grocery lists and whatever. So that's sort of like what I use it for. Now I also use it for, you know, if you're going for a workshop, you know, and then you have your notebook and then you don't know where you wrote it down. So now I actually make my notes in Notion. So if I want to go back to a workshop that I attended, I know exactly it's on my my workshops folder. So I go and find my notes and stuff there. So yeah, there's also like a lot of videos on Notion. A lot of people also use it. A lot of these productivity gurus also use it.
Okay.
So yeah, there's sort of different things for different people depending on what it is that you want.
Okay. Okay, great. Because I think another thing is having a platform that would actually help us like push that productivity part.
Yeah.
I noted what you said down as energy management. So that's what it is. It's energy management, né? With the
Yes,
color
so a
coordinating
little
of
bit of,
what
yeah.
draws you. Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of time management and energy management combined.
And
So I
energy
think,
management.
yeah, I think if you sort of master the first element, which is time management, as in, do
Yes.
I have enough time to do the stuff that I need to do?
Yes.
Once you sort of master that, then you can sort of get to the energy management and say,
Yeah.
okay, now I've sort of figured out, you know, what is a reasonable amount to give myself to do. So
Mm-hmm.
how do I now manage my energy? Why do I feel like, you know, I can't carry on with Tuesday after Monday? Or why do I feel more energized on Thursday or Friday? What is it that I'm doing on those days that sort of, you know, give me life or drain me?
That makes sense because I'm thinking actually with trying to be productive, we push so much how to be disciplined basically. Whether I
Mm,
feel good or not about something, make sure that I'm actually doing it, right? And being disciplined is a very good thing. But now, if you're actually going to find yourself being disciplined about things that only make you feel red,
yeah,
now you're
you're not going to
struggling
be
to go onto
disciplined.
Tuesday. Yeah, you're struggling to get
Yes.
to Tuesday after Monday. That makes a whole lot of sense. And I actually am really happy about you saying it's a trial and error thing after you do your bullet journaling for the year. And the more when
Mm,
you continue with it for the rest of the year, it's a trial and error thing. I love that because it helps anyone see that actually it's okay for me to need to shift things around. Because sometimes I
yeah,
think as people we find ourselves being disappointed in ourselves just because I wasn't able to be strict about the one specific part, you know,
yeah,
only to find that, oh, this is what I thought was going to happen with my year. Things are different now. I changed my job, you know, my child got sick. I don't know, something happened and I needed
yeah.
to adjust to whatever happened at that time. So I'm really happy you mentioned that. The next question that I wanted us to speak of is
Mm,
the people around you. How do you best work with trying to help the next person in a way that doesn't drain you? Because I think with speaking about suicide, by the time someone commits suicide, there's so many signs. Every time
mm,
someone commits suicide, everyone is just like, but we saw it, they said this, they tried that, you know. And I think instead of just sitting on that conversation, it would be so much better if as people, while we're still here and productive and have the energy to, let's speak
mm.
more of ways that we can use to help the next person so that they don't have to use suicide as a solution to their problem at the time. Maybe they just
Yeah,
needed someone to speak to. Maybe they just needed, I don't know, whatever it is, they just needed a hug for that day. Because what I realized with mental health, it's more of like a moment by moment thing, you know. If I can
yes.
help you to deal with the next 30 minutes, we can help you to deal with the next hour, which is the next day, and then in the
Mm,
next week. And now you have a whole month where we've moved forward. You know what I mean? So
mm,
sometimes a person would be so deep in something, and all they needed is one little simple thing, and they could have been gone past the moment of wanting to commit suicide at that specific time. Not to cancel out mental health issues altogether, but just to say how do we help the next person. So I would like to have an idea of, for you, your community, the people around you, or in whatever way that works for you, that doesn't take away from your spirit as well. What do you think helps, or how do you go out of your way for the next person?
yeah, I think, okay, so the first thing is obviously to start with yourself, right? Because I don't think
Yeah.
we can do what the next person is going to do for themselves. So we can't stop them from doing anything.
Yes.
And we can't do the work that they need to do for themselves.
Yes.
So that's just the first thing. So the second thing is that also you can't help someone from an empty cup. So first of all, you need to be 100%. If you're not 100%, you can't help people, right? The third thing for me is that, and this is something I've struggled with in the past, right? Because I know, like, my thing is I help people, right? And I think it's that way for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's important to also help with discernment, right? So know where I can help and know where I can't help.
Okay.
So for me, I'm an economist. I don't have any expertise with dealing with people who are suicidal or whatever. So for me, I would probably find a place where I can refer the person to help them. Maybe they may be suicidal, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, like it's a difficult one. So on the one hand, I hear that maybe we can help people in a particular type of way. Yes, if someone is coming to me and they're saying they're suicidal, I think the first thing I would do is probably not to leave them.
Yes.
But I don't think I would be comfortable giving them any sort of advice in terms of, how what next steps should they take. Maybe I can help them and drive them to these centers where they help people, or help them to call a hotline or whatever. But yeah, like it's really difficult. What I do for, and I won't say now, like, people who are suicidal, I mean, you won't always know if people are suicidal, but what I do when I speak to, younger people, I'm not making myself old here, is that I do speak a lot about internal dialogue, right? Because that's also what leads us to, like, that dark place is, I'm not good enough, I might as well be gone, whatever goes on. We all have sort of negative talk to an extent. And I think, and I'm not a doctor here, I think someone who is suicidal has just gotten to such a dark place that they can't get out of where they are. So for me, I always talk about what is going on in your head. What did you say to yourself this morning when you woke up? Do you say, I have so much to do today? Or do you say, you know what, I'm excited about today, it's going to be a good day? Sometimes it's not about believing what you're saying, but it's like sort of like power posing. I'm sure you've seen the Amy Cuddy video. I think like everyone's seen that now, the TED Talk, where she talks about power posing, where you literally like change your posture and, you put your hands on your hips and your thing. And then she talks about how that actually releases certain hormones in the brain, and that actually makes you more confident. So she talks about, when people go for an interview, what they do is they sort of slump in a chair, hide me, I'm nervous. And she says, like, actually go to the bathroom and power pose, stand up straight, like put your shoulders back, tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to do this. And that then changes processes within the brain, right? So if you tell yourself that, you know what, today is going to be a horrible day, I'm useless, I've already failed at this thing, right? I didn't get to everything on my to-do list yesterday. Why am I even going to bother today? Sometimes you need to lie to yourself until you start believing it. And then you have to start doing stuff to give yourself evidence that shows I can actually do whatever. So if I'm going back to the to-do list now, but it's just about creating evidence for yourself so you can break that sort of negative cycle that's in your head. So for instance, if I only got to number 3 out of my 5 to-do list today, then tomorrow I'm not going to have 5 on my list again. I'm just going to have 3. I'm going to get to the 3 and I'm going to win at the 3, right? So now instead of being the failure I was on Monday afternoon, I'm a winner on Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to try and be a winner on Wednesday again, right? So it's also about giving yourself the evidence that you are not what is in you. And then looking at yourself in the mirror and also saying, this is you. You're a winner, you're brave, you're courageous, you whatever, you valuable, you worthy, you are, I don't know what all the you valued. I don't know what all the stuff is that one can say. I have a list of affirmations. I know like people think that affirmations are stupid, but like it's really powerful because at the end of the day, you know, no one in the world is gonna tell you confident or you courageous or whatever. I mean, how many compliments did you get since this morning? I didn't get any compliments. So if I'm not complimenting myself, who's gonna compliment me, right?
Exactly.
So I need to do that. I need to wake up in the morning and say to myself, you know what, I'm da 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 da. So that when I get to the first person who's gonna tell me you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you're not good enough, you whatever, I'm already prepared in my head. I've already told myself I'm good enough today. So you can go on about you're not good enough, but I have evidence that I'm good enough because yesterday I did all three on my, yes, but I'm good. So I think just, how do you say, stopping that cog from going on the negative stuff. And it doesn't mean that you don't have days where you down or whatever, but it's just about taking control of the process instead of like letting it happen, because there's a lot of stuff around us that tell us that, right? So I see a skinny person on social media. I have my mum bod now. I'm not beautiful. That's what I'm telling myself when I look at that. I don't even realize that that's my internal dialogue, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I have to tell myself, you have a beautiful body. So when I come across Mbali's sexy bikini picture on Instagram, I've already told myself, you sexy girl. So Mbali can also be sexy. It doesn't make me unsexy. Our bodies are different. So yeah, I would just say that, you know, in terms of helping someone like who's on the verge of suicide, I don't know, but I do strongly believe in the value of self-talk, and what it is that you sort of say to yourself.
Okay. I'm actually really happy that you mentioned how, because I was about to ask you about that part when it comes to words of affirmation, that have you not come across a situation where people are just like, but words of affirmation is just, it's crazy. So I'm happy that you brought it up and said that. I know people think that it's unnecessary, but it actually really helps because those voices in your head are already lying to you. So if you can go and readjust those lies into a really positive space, and then the power pose, do whatever it is that's going to affect your subconscious space, your brain, your whole body, the way it does it. Because when you found a way to tell your body to be in a really positive light, it's difficult for it to still be negative when it automatically feels like it's in the right posture to be, you know, to be good, to give you, you know, you're in a good posture, which means your voice projection is going to come out better and all of that. It's difficult for you to be in a good posture, but your voice projection to be terrible. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
if you can work on all of those things and lie to your space in whatever way possible, with information, all of that, and just get your body in a certain place, your subconscious in a certain place, it's difficult for it to come back and still tell you that you're terrible or things are not coming together when you've got all of that evidence saying you're on the right track. You know, I'm really happy you brought that up. Okay, lastly, because we have 5 minutes left.
Oh wow.
Okay. Okay. This went so well. I'm so excited. Okay. Your power circle, because one thing, and this came up for me in during COVID times, because as soon as COVID hit, we have so much time on our hands, and which means let's step into social media even more than we did before. And now that, as a result, affects people having the right people in their circle. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that their social media, like you just mentioned now, I go on social media, I see a certain type of body, and now all of a sudden it affects my mental space, right, going forward. I think not a lot of people realize that your social media also becomes a part of your power circle. So generally for Odile, how do you maintain a circle of people around you that are beneficial to your mental health?
Yeah, I think it's good to trust your gut just in terms of interpersonal relationships. There are some people who actually treat us really badly. And for some reason we tend to stay in those relationships, right? Even like if we think about GBV stuff. You know, how many women do we know who stay in relationships where they are being physically abused, right? Where they are being put down, they're being emotionally abused, they're being financially abused. And yes, there are a lot of complexities around that, but a lot of us are in those type of relationships, even with our close friends, right? So maybe it's not a intimate partner who abuses you, but maybe it's like a friend who puts you down, you know, with little snags or words or whatever. So I think, like, from an interpersonal perspective, it's good to just like trust your gut and be like, you know what, this person's not good for me. And also, just because this one person's not good for me doesn't mean I'm not going to find anyone else. So there's lots of people in the world. There are lots of friends to be made. There are lots of partners to be made. So just in terms of not the fear of loneliness, I think, is what drives a lot of people, not being driven by fear in the relationships you hold on to. But from a social media perspective, I think, like, I genuinely just like unfollow. Sometimes I don't know, you know, like, people post certain things and I just feel like, you know, this is like getting to me. Sometimes I just unfollow, or I even mute. There are some people who are muted on my WhatsApp status. And it's not because they're posting anything bad or anything. It's just that I just don't feel lacquer sometimes when I look at it. And that's okay. I don't need to see their stuff. So I can switch that off. Another thing that I also just want to mention is that we actually have evidence now that there's a link between extensive social media use and adverse mental health outcomes. So there is like evidence showing that excessive use of social media is not associated with positive mental health outcomes. So sometimes it's good to also just step away from social media. You know, I know a few people who are always talking about how they have mental health issues, this, that, and the other, but they are constantly on social media. When something happens, the first thing they do is, I'm posting about the bad thing that happens. And I know a lot of people do it in the interest of raising awareness or whatever. But I also need to think about the thought process between, you know what, I'm not in a good space right now mentally. Why is the first thing I want to do is to tell everyone about it on social media? Who's going to help me? Who's going to help me with that tweet? Who's going to help me with that Instagram? There are so many different things you can do if you're not in a good space. You can literally take a walk. You can book a session with a psychologist, with a Reiki practitioner. You can talk to a close friend. If you're lucky enough to still have your parents or siblings, that's something you can do. But often we go on here, right? And then we say, oh, I'm going through such a rough time. And then we want to see all the comments that say, oh, strongs, sorry, you're going through all of this. And I'm not like, I don't know what the word is. I'm not saying like that's a wrong thing to do. I'm just saying, think about what it is that you want to achieve when you do that. So if you are not in a good mental health space and you're posting about this bad space that you're in, and some stranger from Garankuwa is saying strongs, how does that help you? If you're still checking how many likes is my post getting, how does that help you to get out of that space? So just like engaging with more productive outcomes as we manage our mental health day to day, I think that is like my main sort of, I don't know, the thing that I would advocate for. It's just thinking about what's the process behind that, what's the motive, is what I'm doing actually helping me, or am I just looking to stay in this dark place and tell everybody about it and make sure that everyone knows I'm in a dark place. I try not generally to touch my phone. I'm not always very good at it. I like running, for instance. So if I do feel like, you know, this is not lacquer, sometimes in the afternoon, you know, I get so overwhelmed with work. It'll be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I close the laptop and I go for a run. What does it help me to be sending ugly emails, reading ugly emails? But also, what does it help me to post a tweet about how horrible whoever is or this person that just did that to me? So sometimes it also just helps to get that oxygen to the brain again, the chemicals. So it's just about how you're managing the body in that process.
No, I appreciate that so much. Oh, I appreciate all that information so much. I've learned so much from this conversation on its own.
Yay.
Um, oh, so much to take in. I really appreciate your time, Odile, today. I think a lot of people get to learn so much, and I think more than anything, what I realized was you take very seriously taking yourself seriously, basically, like investing so much more in yourself. Because really, 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 more than anything, what do we have to offer somebody else if we are not, good within ourselves, right? And
Yep.
I appreciate you emphasizing that so much and emphasizing different ways of improving yourself. And from there, creating a good environment, having a power circle, helping somebody else, all of that will come together because we know that individually as a person, I'm doing better for me. So I have better to offer. But I appreciate you teaching us that today. And yeah, we'll continue to chat. But for today's interview, we're good and we're done. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it, and all the best with the power conversations.
Thank you. The first one kicked off so well.
That's good.
All right.
Anyway,
I'll speak to you later, sis. Thank you.
perfect. Bye.
Bye.